Oh, I apologize. Thank you. Thank you. Let's start all over again. I had myself muted. So, welcome back once again to the School of Urban Philosophy, where we always straight up, straightforward, and straight to the point. We're going to get it in. We're going to get it in. We're going to get it in. Political analysis, social commentary. Political analysis, social commentary. I am Bobby Imhotep, for those of you who may not know. Those of you who have joining in with me tonight as we get into this dialogue, please share the video, like the videos, and subscribe to the channel. Subscribe to the channel. Bibi Fahodier, the infamous African. As always, it's a pleasure, my brother. Bibi Fahodier, Brother Sakati, Bibi Fahodier, Janisha. We are here. What I want to talk about tonight. What's on your mind? So, hotel. So let's talk about the state of Black America. I want to start off talking about the state of Black America. Some may ask, what do I mean by the state of Black America? I am referring to the socio-political, economic, psychological, and spiritual conditions of Black people. Let me say that again. I'm referring to the social, political, economic, psychological, and spiritual conditions of Black people. We have to think about our situation from that perspective. What's good for us? And oftentimes, we struggle. We find ourselves struggling, and we struggle in a number of areas, but a couple of areas that I want to touch on tonight in terms of where we tend to struggle at. Relationships. We are struggling as a people in relationships. We are struggling with family construction, family building, family maintenance, how we maintain a healthy, strong family. We are struggling. And we have to talk about that in relation to the conditions that we are subjected to. Because oftentimes, we've been led to believe that we can address our issues as a people and do not relate our current issues to the conditions that we live under as a people. And that is incorrect, Black man and Black woman. That is totally incorrect. We must always assess who we are, where we are at, what's happening to us in relationship to the conditions that we are subjected to as a people, as a total and whole people. Even though we may say, well, I'm not Black, I'm not African, we say all these things, but that does not change the nature of the society in which we reside, those of us who have melanin. It doesn't change how the society is structured to deal with us. So we can argue back and forth all day long, and we can debate about I'm not Black. Black doesn't identify you with land. We see all the intellectual things. I'm Aboriginal. I'm melanated. I'm Foundation Black America. Or I'm African in America. And we debate this. But those debates never have and never will change the nature of the society and how this society has been structured to relate to those of us who possess melanin. Whether you believe you was already in this land here, or whether you believe you was a part of the Ma'afa, it doesn't matter. It does not matter when it comes to the society. So as a people, we have to grow up. We have to become mature about the fact that we share some things in common. And we have to build in those commonalities. We can deal with those other ideological things later on down the line. But right now, when white police are coming into the houses of Black women, of Black people, and killing them and shooting them in the face, when Black boys are being hauled off to prison like animals in herds, there is no time for us to sit around and keep arguing and debating about things that's not changing the fundamental conditions of Black people in this land. It doesn't change the conditions. Yeah, I know who I am and what I subscribe to. But I'm not going to get a debate with you over that. I stand on Pan-Africanism through and through. I know exactly who my ancestors are, personal ancestors and collective ancestors. I am very clear where they come from and where I come from, where I ascend from and descend from. Very clear about that. But I'm not going to have a debate with you when we dying out here, when black children can barely read and do basic math, when our families are in shambles and our communities are falling apart, and black men and black women are being murdered in the streets by police officers, and black men and black women are being hauled off and locked away in these concentration camps across the United States of America. We have to become more political, black man and black woman. We got to start thinking about our situation the way that it is, not how we want it to be. And the one thing that will never change until we change it, it's not going to change. We cannot pray ourselves out of this situation. We can't hope ourselves out of this situation. We can't wish ourselves out of this situation. Legislation doesn't change the situation, right? Because the situation that we're in is institutional, it's structural, it's systemic, it's here. So if these structures remain, regardless who are inside the structures, the same outcomes are the same in relation to us as a people. So why am I sharing all of this? Because for some of you, you may say, I already know that, Bob and Motep. You're not enlightening me with anything new. I'm aware of that. And I beg to differ. I believe true awareness, profound consciousness compels action. I believe consciousness can only be measured by the degree that one acts in accord with his or her consciousness. So to say I'm aware because you have information, it doesn't constitute consciousness, profound consciousness. So yes, people I've heard that before. You may be familiar with some things, but you don't understand because you don't have the consciousness when the actions that we display doesn't correspond to the things that we say we are conscious of. It doesn't correspond, so it can't be consciousness. And in the year 2020, I put a call out, and the call was race first. And let me pop right here before those pop in. When I said race first, I'm not saying that I originated the term. That's not what I'm saying. I did not originate the term, but I put the call out for race first in 2020. And I put the call out from the perspective that race first can become a catalyst. It can become a catalyst to deepen national consciousness. So I put the call out race first. And with this call, I issued a working definition. And the working definition that I issued is race first is thought and behavior that places the socio-political economic interest, spiritual well-being, and overall material survival of the Black race first to facilitate African sovereignty. That's the working definition. Why race first? Because once we begin to organize and mobilize around what we truly have in common, outside of how we identify, but what we truly have in common, is this melanin, the Black race. And many get to arguing, you know how we are, everything got to be intellectual. We say race is a social construct, and we leave it there. I beg to differ, but that's another conversation we can get into. But anyway, organize around Black, organize around our Blackness, because we can organize around that. Because we pay attention to our story the correct way, we can find instances when we have organized around it. So I say organize around Blackness, and from organizing around it, we can begin to build a type of national consciousness, meaning that we can begin to elevate ourselves on a national level to the degree that we are aware of ourselves nationally as being a unique body politic as a people. Because when we elevate to national consciousness, that sets the stage for national identity. Now hear me and follow me, because I'm going through some stages and some phases here. I'm saying race first is the call. Thought and behavior that places the social, political, economic interest, spiritual well-being, and overall material survival of the Black race first to facilitate African sovereignty. That's the call for us to develop that type of thinking about ourselves as a people. And from that way of thinking, when we begin to organize around our Blackness, we can raise and initiate national consciousness. And once national consciousness begins to set in, because it's necessary, Frantz Fanon talked about national consciousness. He noticed that it was lacking in parts of Africa, primarily in Algeria. Dr. Cheikh Najap talks about it in his book, Towards an African Renaissance. He talks about the need for and the lacking of the national consciousness. You know, anybody that's really paying attention to political education and you're deep into yourself, you come to understand the need for national consciousness. Emil Cabral talked about it. Right? A national consciousness is very important. It's a very important component to movements. It's a very important component to liberation struggles. It's very important for the people to develop a national consciousness. And that's going to come from our political education classes. Those of us who are in the movement or say we in the movement, we should be conducting political education classes to raise the consciousness and broaden the awareness of the people. But get back to these stages and these phases that I'm talking about. I wanted to amplify it with that there. So national consciousness is the first. It's the first stage and the first phase. Because from there, everything else is possible. Out of the national consciousness, we get to national identity, which is necessary, meaning how we conceive ourselves as a people. How we conceive ourselves as a people. How do we identify as a people at the national level? It's very important for liberation movements, because when we don't see ourselves the same nationally and we present ourselves fragmented and separate, presenting different identities, it hinders the work, it hinders the progress. So yes, it's very important to produce a national consciousness out of which can evolve and develop a national identity. Because once we get to national identity, it's very easy to transition to a national solidarity. It's very easy. So Black brothers and Black sisters all over this land, no matter where you at the level of national solidarity, it's easy to go from state to state, city to city, and get received and get welcomed, and you can come in and do what needs to be done. It's easy to transition across from one border to the next border in this land and do work, because we see and understand and recognize that, hey, that's my brother, or that's my sister, or that's my comrade in struggle, right? Because we have produced a national solidarity. We're standing tall with one another. We're standing locked together with one another. Then that's the third stage. The first is national consciousnose. The second is national identity. The third is national solidarity. Now stay with me, because I'm going to ask you. Those of you who have tuned in with me tonight, I'm going to ask you to tell me those stages. Run them back down to me. We had 3. Excuse me. So once we have produced and created an atmosphere of national solidarity, we're there. We're in a beautiful place. We're in a beautiful place because following national solidarity is national feeling. National feeling. So let me talk about that one real quick. National feeling is that stage of development where we genuinely feel for one another nationally. So what's happening to you in Seattle, Washington impacts me in Baltimore City. What I am going through in Baltimore City in terms of the struggle impacts you in New York City. What my brothers and sisters in New York City are dealing with impacts our brothers in Houston, Texas, our brothers in Atlanta, Georgia, our brothers in Pine Bluff, Arkansas. That's the national feeling. We feel for one another because we identify as the same and we see our relatedness. That can only happen when you have produced national consciousness. Stage 4, national feeling. The 5th stage, and one of the most progressive and profound stages of the development that I'm talking about, is national response. National response. If you don't know what I mean, I'm going to give you an example. What did we do nationally in response to what that white boy did to our sister, Sonia Massey? What did we do nationally? Yeah, we got on some social media and we made some comments. Yeah, we reposted the video shooting. But what did we do nationally to demonstrate the fact that we're not going to tolerate this crap? We fed up and we stand in solidarity. What did we do nationally? We didn't do anything nationally. There was no national response. And there was no national response because there's no national consciousness. And we don't want to deal with this conversation. This conversation is always avoided. And this is the reason why we find ourselves consistently starting over as a people, because we're not working the system the correct way. By system, I mean the struggle that we are engaged in. We call it the Black liberation struggle, the national Black liberation struggle, the Pan-African liberation struggle. Name it what you want to name it, but you know exactly what I'm talking about. But we did nothing nationally in response to that murder. Nothing, right? That's an indication of national weakness. That's an indication of national ignorance. That's an indication of national breakdown as a people. That's an indication of the fact that we are walking around individualized. There's a lack of cultural understanding when there's no national response. A politically conscious people, right? Follow me now. A politically conscious people, which by definition are a nationally conscious people, must and will demonstrate their collective power when necessary. The fact that we didn't speaks to the national weakness of us as a people. Now, let me be very clear. I am not stepping on any Black organization out there that's doing genuine work. I am making an analysis of us as a body of people. I believe my organization is doing great work, but I'm not taking myself out this equation. I am saying we done nothing nationally. We didn't do anything nationally because we're not connected nationally. So we couldn't even connect and build to do anything. Dr. Cheikh talks about that. If you go and read his book, Towards an African Renaissance, he talks about how you got these different organizations. He was speaking on the African continent. He talks about how different organizations was popping up and what they defined then as being the movement, but yet these organizations functioned and operated in isolation, one from the other. And because they functioned and operated that way, they was weak, and the colonizers was able to do anything to them. And he used an example. And the example that he used was when the colonizers incarcerated some of the brothers who took part in the liberation struggle in Kenya. His thing was when the colonizers incarcerated them, he said the whole continent should have been in an uproar. But because there was no national consciousness, no one really cared. And that's so I'm raising the same argument because it's still relevant to us. It's still relevant to us as a people. Those of you that's in this chat with me right now. I'm going to pause for a second. Tell me, are you with me? Am I making sense? Is this clear? Talk black to me, black family. Let me know I'm not talking insane right now, because I believe I'm very clear about what I'm saying in the point that I'm getting across to us. My sister say yes. My brother say crystal clear. My other brother say absolutely clear. So yes, I appreciate that. I appreciate the feedback. That's the energy. Keep in mind that we African people. We African people. There got to be a call and response. There has to be a call and response. So even though we are moving through this medium right here, let's still stick with that cause and response. You say, what am I requesting? I don't think I put forth a request. So if you can rephrase your question so I can provide you with an answer, I don't believe I put forth a request. Now, if I confuse you, then let me know how and where I confuse you at, so I can produce clarity. But I want us to be clear from your side to me and from me to you. But I don't believe I'm requesting anything. I'm not making a request. I'm making an analysis. I'm making an analysis, and I'm providing a solution to what I have observed and analyzed. And the analysis is this. The analysis is that we lack national consciousness. And because we lack national consciousness, we can never initiate national response, because the national response would demonstrate our collective power. But because we lack the national response, which is linked to us lacking a national consciousness, there is never a national response. You say, how can listeners be a part of the solution? I believe anyone that's listening to what I'm saying today, whether they are involved in an organization or not, I believe two things. If they are involved in an organization, then I believe that they should listen to the analysis and see if the analysis makes sense. And what I'm saying is this, and this analysis is based on my own involvement in the movement for over 30 years and my consistent and ongoing studying of black liberation struggles. And several of our great leaders have made the same analysis. They've noticed that when the people lack national consciousness, it hindered the overall progress of the people to move forward and to change the systems and the institutions that have been oppressing them or obstructing their livelihood. Right? So what I'm saying is that one of the ways in which the national consciousness can be raised, if we organize around something as simple as our blackness, not to get into a discussion about, well, black doesn't exist, or black is not a race. I'm not black, I'm Aboriginal, not to get in that discussion, because we can have that discussion at a later date, because those discussions doesn't change the institutions, the policies, and the systems that is pushing against us. So even though we as a people get stuck in that debate, the systems that have been put in place to ravage us continue to move, even though we are debating. So what I'm saying is, like, let's organize around the most basic element that we can identify with. Call it what you want. I am talking about this blackness in our bodies. Organize around that. And from there, that level of organization would begin to produce a national consciousness, meaning at the national stage, we become more conscious and aware of who we are as a national body politic. And by national body politic, I'm simply saying, a collective people. Right? So from there, we can go from national consciousness to national identity. From national identity, we can get to national solidarity. From national solidarity, we can get the national feeling. And from national feeling, we can get the national response. So if you're listening and you're part of an organization, the organization should seek ways to to be better organized in relation to one another. That's for those in the organization. That's a solution. For those of us who may not be in an organization, I would say seek out strong Black organizations that reflect your values, your aspirations, your desires. Find an organization that reflect that, and then join that organization. Build its organizational capacity. And then if that organization isn't already down with this analysis, then you be the voice inside that organization to urge that organization to move towards organizing with other organizations to build this national consciousness. So I'm thinking in terms of how we can get a ball moving so we can be more effective as a people under these conditions. We have to build a movement. We have to build a movement. We can't get around that because we got a lot of people that's in pockets doing great work. A lot of us in all of these cities and states within the United States of America. You can go all over and find us doing good works. Pockets of us. An organization here, 10 or 13 people. An organization there, 15 to 20 people. An organization here, 7 people. An organization there, 9 people. Doing great work. We need a movement. We need a move because the movement creates the momentum and builds the force that allows us to smash things, to tear down institutions and systems and strip away policies. The movement does that, not individuals. Not individuals. It's the movement, and we have to build the movement. Now, our movement, some would argue, man, we got a movement going on. We don't have a movement, right? And I'm not pessimistic at all. You know what I'm saying? Trust me. My energy is high. My hopes are high. My aspirations are high. My optimism is high. But I like being honest about my analysis of the work that I'm doing. I like to be honest about the evaluations that, I'm able to, the conclusions of my evaluations. I'm going to be honest about that. We don't have a movement. We can build the movement, though. We can build it. We just got to get behind one thing and begin to organize around that. And then as we're organizing around it, make sure we have the courage as an organization to reach out and connect and relate to other organizations that's organizing the same way. That's organizing the same way. And we be supportive of one another. As much as we can, because the support and the relation and the relating helps us to build the relationships, because the relationships is what gets us to that place of that true solidarity. We need the relationships. And we need the relationships because many of us who are doing the work, we are doing the work as wounded people, as hurt people that have never healed from daddy abandonment or a parent that died when they was young and they didn't get the proper, the grieve properly, or a failed relationship, a divorce, or being abused. We got all this stuff that we carry around with us and we carry it into our organizations, right? And then when we get in close proximity with one another, you're like all that hurt and pain starts spilling into the organization because we're not doing the work. So we have to get to a place where we can build relationships and start helping each other to heal so we can move. So that's more so what I'm suggesting. So he said, just as much energy that was put into the civil rights movement, we need a race-based movement. Yes, that's exactly what I'm suggesting. That's exactly what I'm suggesting because I know it would work. I'm not delusional at all. I know it would work. And how do I know it will work? Because I've studied it. Like any scientist, you study something and you pay attention to what you're studying. What my brother talking about? I know my brother coming on here real critical. We say, when we speak of Black organizing, are we organizing Black LGBTQ, Black conservatives, Black church folk, Black Muslims, and Black grifters? I would argue that this is 50% of more of Black America. Well, I would say this right here. Look at it like this right here. I like to create analogies where we can look at. If you got 3,000 brothers that's in prison, and we try to get some work done in prison, and inside prison, you got all type of stuff in there, man. You got You got your fanatical Christians, you got your fanatical Muslims, you have your homosexuals, you have your transsexuals, you have your drug addicts in there, you have the brothers, you see what I'm saying, they got strung out on other type of pharmaceutical drugs. You got everything in there. You know what I'm saying? But when you organize in the midst of that, you organize based on with those who identify with your beliefs, with your politics. So I don't have to worry about all that right there because I know my politics don't resonate with all of them. So I don't even bring them into the equation because I believe that also distracts us because those people, when they talk, they don't bring me in their equation. I'm not a part of their conversation. So I don't make them a part of my conversation. I'm organized with those who share the ideals, aspirations, and the principles, as do I. And one of the ideals and principles that I have in the whole deal is complementary relationships. I don't believe in trying to conserve anything that the USA have built in relation to Black people. I don't believe in none of that. I don't believe in liberalism or nothing to that degree. So I'm organizing with people who I have determined share in the same thoughts, ideas, principles, and aspirations as do I. That's the best way to organize and minimizes confusion. But as always, I love a question. Every major black radical organization today is led by or in line with the LGBTQ organization. Name any major Black organization today, and this is it. Uhuru, Black Lives Matter, and all the Black social organizations. They can have all of that, you know. I believe I have a Black major organization. From my standpoint, and my position, I believe that the Pan-African Liberation Movement, PLM, based in Baltimore City, soon to be expanded into Tampa, Florida. I believe we are a major Black organization transforming lives, impacting the communities, and none of that is a part of it, nor do any of that lead the organization. But I do understand your point, your position, and I understand why you put forth the question. As always, is welcome. So he said we have to renew our self-sufficiency. Yes. But and I'm glad you bring up self-sufficiency. Self-sufficiency, as we renew it, that's connected to the total overhaul of us as a people. Like there has to be a total overhaul of us as a people in terms of our political awareness. And our political awareness is linked to our ideological development. Because oftentimes we strive to not deal with ideology. But we have to deal with ideology. It's very important. And it's a part of our psychological makeup as political beings, as social beings living within a social political reality. You know, we live within a social political reality that's governed by an ideology. So therefore, we need ideology. So our ideology is going to take shape and take root as we become more politically astute. And by politically astute, I'm not necessarily referring to electoral politics. I am talking about the science of group interest, the science of how do you think and execute things in the best interest of the group that you belong to. And in this instance, in this conversation, I'm talking about the Black body politic. So those of us who say we are politically aware, our thinking should be such that we put forth ideas, principles, ideals, principles, aspirations, and ideas, policies, and issues that's going to advance and elevate the best interests of the Black race, of Black people. That's what this is about. How do we have to get us there in how we think. We have to get us there. Is uniformity required for unity? Listen, come on now. We asking rhetorical questions. We got to do better than that. You know, we got to do better than that. There is no unity without consciousness. Simple as that. You know, so I think I was very clear what I said. I'm gonna say it again. I believe national consciousness is first, and the reason we not unified because we don't have the consciousness to be unified. It's simple as that. So it's national consciousness, national identity, national solidarity, national feeling, the national response. That's what's required. That's supposed to be, that is what's required. That's what's been required. That's what history tells us. We're looking at our brothers and sisters who during the time period of from 1792 up until 1830. We look at that time period. All those brothers and sisters was very clear about the need to abolish enslavement. They wasn't unclear about that. And even though all of them didn't necessarily subscribe to the same methodology, but that objective was the same across the board. So when they started calling when they started organizing those immigration meetings, the immigration movement started in 1830, they all came and took part in that discussion because they was clear about the need to abolish enslavement. And they was also clear about the status of themselves within the land. And even though some of them were deemed to be quote unquote free blacks, and then some of us were still in chattel enslavement, they never saw themselves as being distinct people. They understood they were the same. And because they understood they were the same, they organized around that. So that's what I'm talking about. It's very clear historically what I'm talking about because we've done it. We are the ones in 2024 that's unclear about what we should be trying to destroy. We are the ones that's unclear with that. We are the ones that's unclear with our national identity as a people. We are the ones in 2024. They were not unclear with that. They was very clear. Very clear. And that's the reason why they was able to make the advances that they made. They was clear down towards the 1900 too. That's why they was able to organize the Pan-African Conference, because they was clear about their oneness. We've lost that clarity. And what I'm suggesting is ways how we can get it back. But see, that's the catch. You assuming race versus broad. So that's the catch. We make those assumptions all the time. You're assuming. Anybody that listened to me and go back and listen and pay attention to what I write about it, it is clear. It's very clear. It always been clear. It always been clear. Because when I say national consciousness, I'm not saying we need 50 million black people. That's not what I'm saying. I'm not advocating that. Because if I was advocating that, I would say that. I would say we need 50 million black people. No, I am saying that we need a national movement. Even if that national movement is just 10 black people organized in 50 different states, and 10 black people organized in just the cities. That's locked together. That's national. See, my idea of national doesn't mean I'm not looking for magnitudes of people. That's not what I'm suggesting. I'm saying we just need to create a force. That's what I'm saying. And the force can be created when you have people operating together. I'm not saying we need a mass of people. I don't believe there's going to be some mass migration of black people outside the United States of America. I don't believe that's going to happen. I don't believe it's feasible. And I would never advocate that. I don't believe you're going to get 50 million, 40 million, 30 million, 20 million, 10 million black people to organize around the same issue. I don't believe that. You know what I'm saying? That's going to happen no time soon. So I'm not advocating that. That's not what I'm advocating. I'm advocating to create a force, to create a movement, to create something on a national scale where you have organizations nationally who know who each other are. They locked on the same principles, the same objectives. They're working towards the same end. That's what I'm suggesting. That's what national consciousness is. Because they can leverage that. So that's what I'm advocating. Our socialization has to be built upon African values to foster stronger relationship. Yes, I do agree. Black folk that have a common goal. Yes. Send the strength and power to Bob and Hotep. I appreciate the strength and power. I love the strength and power. I need it, to stand on this front line with our people, man, and do this work by here. But I love it, man. This is my passion, doing the work for us. Working in our best interest. That's what gives me vitality. I wouldn't change this in for nothing else. What is the major barrier to groups connecting on our common goal, African sovereignty? I believe I just laid that out. We don't have the same understanding of it. It's consciousness. We don't have the same understanding. So I never make the assumption because a person say that he or she is a part of a movement or in the movement. I never assume that we understand things the same until I had that conversation with them. But the barrier is there's a crisis in Black consciousness. That's a time period that we are in. We're in a time period where there's a crisis in Black consciousness. And so we have to do, those of us who feel or think that we are a little bit aware, that's a part of organizations, we have to create spaces where we can develop the consciousness of our people in. We have to build those spaces. That's a part of the political education process that these organizations should be doing. We should be creating spaces where we can develop and expand Black consciousness, because as we develop and expand Black consciousness, people begin to see the end goal of African sovereignty more clear. But as long as people are confused, we don't know who we are, where we came from, where we're going, who the enemy is, what we up against, what our ideology should be. As long as we are confused on those critical things, there is no way to African sovereignty. So the major barrier that I would highlight is the crises in Black consciousness. Too much back and forth. Majority and minor foolishness is a huge barrier. Agreed. Yes, I agree with the need of a national call for Black African revolutionary solidarity based on African values. The next step would be to have a plebiscite of some kind with a written agenda and policy. I agree. I agree with that 100%, my brother. And you and how you think, you're critical to that process. This statement right here, with how you think, you are critical and vital to that process. There you go, my brother. We are in agreement 100% with that. That's what we need, what you just put out there. And that's where I'm at. That's what I'm trying to move us toward with this thing, to get us to that place right there. But it takes mature, conscious people to get to that place. But we're going to get there. National out global, why the focus on geographic boundaries made by, I don't understand it. I don't have a focus on geographical boundaries made by my enemies. I don't even recognize them. I just say African people. That's it. So I don't know if that's an assumption, that's being made again. And we oftentimes make assumptions. I don't recognize their boundaries in terms of my mind, right? I understand that we are who we are. I say national because I live currently within the boundaries of the United States of America. My ideology is Pan-African, but I can't think in terms of organize the world, the Black people, until I can focus here. So that's why I'm saying national here, because everybody must do the work where they are at. Now, if you're called to work at an international level, then we must go and do that. But my organizing have to start where I'm at. And so there's no preference on the USA over anything else. No, my objective is African sovereignty. That's my objective through and through. But we do need national consciousness. Whether we understand that or not, that's another story. But I'm very clear about what we need. We need that. We need national consciousness right here on this land we in. Because every major Black leader that I know of, when they came into power, they always reached out to us. Even Dr. Cheka the Jap talks about it. You know what I'm saying? In his book, Towards an African Renaissance, he talked about the role of Black people in the United States of America. He talks about that. He understood that. Us, the role we play. So we are a major part of this big puzzle. We are a major part of this big puzzle because of our strategic situation in this land. So I'm not going to neglect the work that needs to be done here. It has to be done here. It has to be done in Africa. It has to be done in Brazil. It has to be done in Europe. It has to be done in the Caribbean. And we got organizers and organizations in all those places. And as we are tightening ourselves up in those places, then at some point, we can begin to tighten up at that international level. But the work has to be done. And I know that organizations are doing the work in those places that I just named. I'm very clear. Organizations are doing the work. Black organizations, authentic Black organizations are doing the work. I'm just trying to get our work done here in the USA because we got to get it done. Let me plug my computer before it dies because I don't want to lose my people. Many lack commitment to put the race first. They're committed to everything else: sports, fraternities, sororities, religion, individualism, geographical location, etc. Great point. I do agree. Yes. We should dialogue more on this, as you said, even if just 10 people, but that is difficult with various organizations and orgs. PLM is a great movement, but we won't all join PLM. So what next then? Hey, I like that, So yeah, you and I are gonna continue the dialogue. And I do agree, everybody's not gonna join PLM. Ideally, yes, but realistically, no. I would hope that the work that PLM does and what I've done, I would hope that a person is able to consider the last 30 years of Bob and Hotep's life and my work and take my commitment as a measuring stick that he or she could utilize if they're not going to join PLM, to take what we've done as an example of what can be done and move out and do something in like manner. Join another organization, talk to us, ask us what are we doing, what's going on, build with us. Let's at least build the relationship. So granted, you may not want to join the organization, or you probably can't join the organization, whoever you may be. But that doesn't mean that the relationship can't be built, because I still believe that if we build in the relationships, we can still get to this national consciousness and national identity. At least build a relationship. At least be able to say, well, I like what they're doing. They solid. They've been doing this work organizationally since 1995. They have not deviated. They haven't stopped. So I'm willing to join forces with them and be an ally. Right. So even if we got to do something like that, then that's what we do. So when I say, okay, great question. When I said if a person been called, meaning that like my passion is to educate Black people, no doubt, no question about it. I educate Black children, Black couples, Black families, Black men, Black women. That's my call, and I can do it multiple ways. I can do it if I got to present a presentation. I can do it if we out on the corner and it come up. I need no preparation because it comes out of me so naturally. So that's what I mean. So if a person feels drawn from within themselves to be on an international stage, then they should follow that vocation. That's what I mean by when I use the term that way. If you feel that vocation that is coming from in you, then act on that. That's what I've done. There was a vocation for me to raise the consciousness of young Black brothers when I was incarcerated. Something said, man, this is what you do. And I stepped out there and I began to do that. And I haven't stopped since. Since 1993, this is what I've been doing. That's a vocation. It's a part of my psychology. It's a part of my spiritual being to do this work. Right? It's not something that I have to, oh boy, I gotta go do it. I don't have to fix myself up to do. I'm not that person. I just do it. The same way one may breathe or eat, drink water, sleep or rest, that's me. I just do it. So that's what I mean. I believe many of us have these type of vocations inside of us. And I believe that to the degree that we are politicized, we're going to use that vocation either for our people or we're going to use it in a way where it works against our people. But to the degree that we're politicized, that vocation is going to be used in the best interest of ourself, family, and people. And that's what I've been able to do, and that's what I do. What I've been moved to do, I do it to enhance me, my family, and my people. I do it simultaneously. So hopefully I answered your question, my brother. So I'm gonna put an email. Matter of fact, I'm gonna put a website. Go to this website. .org. So let me see if you see the website that I just put. You can go to the website and you can send the email. Email me through the website your question. How can you join PLM? Email me through the website. And anyone else that's curious about that, send me your email through the website. But keep one thing in mind. I believe I've been very clear. I want Black people. They got Black minds. They want Black African values. They want to be committed to doing this thing the correct way. If that's who you are and you out there, send me an email, through that website. In the website, you can learn more about the organization. You can check out our 8-point political agenda. Go check that 8-point political agenda out. And if it matches with your values and the things that you want to do, then let's try to figure this thing out, see how you can get involved and see how we can get this work done. Now, what does organizational allyship look like? Like I say, relationships. I know you're just asking questions, to kind of pick at the conversation, but I don't think that's a great method. I think as a people, we should have our questions should be real, genuine questions, but not just questions to be picking. And I think that's one of those picky questions. But I'm gonna answer the question, but I think it's a picky question. But I think we should be more mature ways that we really asking solid questions, because I believe I've answered that 1,000 times. The organization alliances should be based on relationships. And you can only forge relationships through what? Spending time together, talking, vulnerability, honesty, transparency, those things. When those things not happening, you cannot build good relationships. If the organizations can't build good relationships, there's not going to be no allyship. And that's the reason why our organization's efforts always fall apart, because we put no time into building the relationships. You know what I'm saying? We got too much damage as a people to think we can just jump into alliances. No, we got to build some relationships. And we have to be willing to do that and understand the value of relationship building in the process of building alliances. And if we don't understand the importance of building relationships in the process of building alliances, we're going to miss the mark. So that's what I mean. I mean someone that's willing to do that. You know what I'm saying? Someone that's willing to get in there with me and rock and roll in a very reciprocal way in terms of vulnerability, transparency, communication, support, you know what I'm saying? And just exercising humane investment in one another. You know what I'm saying? Checking in, calling, building, talking, making an effort to come spend some time if you can, doing those things that we tend not to do. That's what I'm talking about. What do you think about creating an organized movement of other race first YouTube channels, where they have 10 subscribers to 10 million subscribers? I believe you're asking, what do I think about a movement around YouTube channels that have race first content? I love it. I think it's a great idea. If you can facilitate making it happen, then reach out to me and let me know. Because I love listening to authentic ideas, and more importantly, I love listening to people who want to jump in there and facilitate to make those ideas happen. I think it's a good idea. If you got some thoughts around how we can make that happen, send me an email. We can try to figure that out. I'll be looking forward to the email. Okay. So I wanted to attempt to address, everyone's questions that y'all put in there. I appreciate everyone for just spending time with me here tonight. I hope I always strive to say something, to give up something. I never come before my people just to be running my mouth. I'm not one of those kind of individuals. I believe that communication is one of the greatest contributions that Black people, the African man and woman, have given to human society. Communication. Because through communication, we can get so much done. So when I open my mouth, I do so very cautiously, and I do so purposefully. I always have an intent in mind, and my intent is to move my people in a positive way. That's my intent, to move my people in a positive way, to enlighten them, to expand them, to cause them to think a little bit more, to say, oh, I didn't think of it that way, to initiate a question in them that causes them to question me deeply, because through deep questioning, we can develop profound clarity. Like, questions are so essential to clarity. So I always bring information and knowledge in the hopes that I can stimulate in you a question that you can present to me that will push me deeper into my understanding of your question to expand me. So the relationship, the one we call education, is dialogical, meaning it's very reciprocal, meaning it must go like this. From me to you, from you to me. We got to create that, and we can create it when we're honest and and secure, and we know that we're in a safe space where we won't be judged. We can create that process, and we create that process. We can push deeper, and that's what we need to do, Black man and Black woman. We must push, we must push deeper, because there is a crisis in consciousness. Our consciousness is as a people is it's really low, man. It's real low. If you take and look at our consciousness now and you compare it to any time period in history, I'm talking about, you look at the 70s and look at us, right? You can see the difference in our thinking, our consciousness. The 60s, the 50s, the 40s, the 30s, the 20s. And the further back you go, the deeper and the more clear the consciousness, the deeper you go. When you go back and you're reading Henry Highland Garnett and, Martin Delaney and Alexander Crummell and Henry Highland Garnett, when you're reading about them, when you're reading Pauline Elizabeth Hopkins, Maria Stewart, the first woman to deliver a public speech, Maria Stewart, around 1930, she's clear as I don't know what about what she's saying. Totally clear, right? Consciousness is high, and that's all I'm saying. How to get us to a place of high consciousness, deep consciousness. So if there is not any more questions, we've reached the time period where we come to our conclusion. But once again, please share this video. Please like this page. Please, thumb it up, subscribe if you have not already subscribed. Share, like, subscribe. Share, like, subscribe. The content that we are striving to get out is great content, and we can't do that without your support. We can't do that without your support. The closer we get to American idealism, the crazier we are. So, you're absolutely correct, my brother. I like to call it Black insanity. So you're absolutely correct. That insanity is, in fact, linked to this society. This society is insane in origin. Is insane in origin in relation to us. It's normal for them, but in relation to us, this is an insane society. Institutions are insane, and the more we allow ourselves to be inculcated and imbibed with this society's rules, values, and aspirations, the insaner we become. So you're correct. I do agree with that. I appreciate that 1,000%, my brother. But help us get the content out. Black man and black woman, subscribe, share this, man. Invite brothers and sisters to this page. This is because we need to, because oftentimes we can talk a whole lot about what other people are not doing, but we don't put enough energy into what people who are doing the right things are doing. We need us to support and help us. We truly appreciate you, Bob. I can thank you enough. Appreciate you too, my brother. Thank you. We want to help facilitate the connection of national Black conscious organizations. They may not be able to spend lots of personal time at first. Would a petition or sign oath around values be useful? I think, so to your question, the conversation, meaningful conversations would suffice. And then we can arrange things from there, but it should be a meaningful conversation. And then from there, we can, arrange other things that need to occur and need to happen, But I do appreciate that effort. I think it's a great effort, and I'm looking forward to any types of follow-up to that effort. And that's what this is all about. Just trying to create the efforts, and we can follow those efforts up and figure out how we can make these things happen. All right, my black man and black woman, I got to get out of here now. Time is 10:05. As always, this is the School of Urban Philosophy, where we're straight up, straightforward, and straight to the point. We use information to empower Black people, our people, African people. We strive to stay consistent with the African way. Questions keep coming. Is PLM still having the Race First Convention? Great question. To be determined, because a lot is going on and a lot have happened. So I can't give a definitive right now, but stay in contact. Please stay in contact. Utilize their website to stay in contact with us so you can know what's happening and how and when it's going to happen. With that, I'll be before ODA, Race First, Black Power, Black Power, Black Power.